Hey, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're doing Nedarim Daf Nun Vav, number 56. Talk about some interesting things today about what's part of a house, what's included in a bed, in case you wanted to forbid yourself from going in your house or sleeping on your bed. If you really wanted to do Avodas Hashem and prevent yourself from going in your house or sleeping on a bed. Korban Abayas, but not based on Migdash. Really, you should sleep on the floor every night. Joking. There's a luck on Tisha B'Av to sleep on the floor, maybe. All right, Mish says, I know them in Abayas, Mutter Ba'aliyah, top of Nun Vav and Aleph. Someone who takes a nether not to enter his house, he's allowed to go into the Aliyah. Now, I don't know how he's going to get to the Aliyah, the attic, without going through his house, but if he can somehow, he has an elevator in his house, and it takes him to the attic, and can go there. Divrei Meir, according to Meir. Aliyah b'chal habayis. The attic is part of the house. You can't go in any part of the house. Another Aliyah mutter habayis. However, he takes it down there not to go into the attic. Of course, like go in the house. An attic is more specific than a house. The Gemara says, "Man tana b'bayis l'rabos yatzia b'bayis l'rabos aliyah." There's a brisa which talks about parsha of tsaras in the house. So it says an extra word b'bayis to include not just the house. There's saras in your house. You're also going to have saras in the Yitzia. Now, Yitzia is translated as a veranda. If you don't know what a veranda is, I Googled it. It's basically a porch on the first floor of your house, on the ground floor. It has a roof. Might have a railing, but, think of sort of like a cafe outside with a roof on top outside the main store. We'll have, picnics out there. You have the weather. You have an open, there's no wall. There's a roof. So that's included. But bias says bias again. L'rabos aliyah to include the attic also. Amar of Chisda, who is the author of this brisa? Must be Rabbi Meir. He has to be Rabbi Meir. The Rabbanan Amar Rabbanan aliyah b'chol bias. According to the Rabbanan, the simple explanation of bias includes an attic. The extra word, the fact that you need extra word about bias shows you that obviously the word bias does not include aliyah. You need a reboy to tell you it's part of it. I feel the Tamer Rabbanan. The Gemara says no. You can say the brisa even according to the Rabbanan, who seemingly the halacha is like. Bayakra, you need a pasuk. It says in the parsha of Saras Habatim, the base eres achuzascham connects the house to the aretz, to the land. The mechaber ba'ara shmei bias. Aliyah hala mechaber ba'ara. Maybe the bias, normal bias, includes an aliyah, like we see in the Mishnah. Maybe a house for tzaras only includes the main floors, but the attic is not included because it's not attached to the ground. So therefore, you need a bias according to the Rabbanan over there specifically. Come on, Azla had Amar of Huna Barchia B'Shmei Deula bias B'Beisian and Mochralach. This is a teaching. If you tell someone, I'm selling you a house in my houses, right? So I don't know anyone would get into a contract like this, which is very ambiguous. Apparently, you didn't hire a lawyer, and you said bias B'Beisian and Mochralach. What can the guy give you? You paid, I don't know, $500,000 for this bias with basi. So Mareo Aliyah, the halacha is technically the guy can say, I'm not even selling you a full house. You should just get the attic in one of the houses. I'll split it and I'll have someone else live in the regular part of the house. Technically you could do that. Taima the Amarle bias with basi. Is the reason said bias in my house. I'm a bias stam. Ain't no Mareo Aliyah. He said, I'm selling you a house. You can't say, oh, I just meant the Aliyah. Lema Meir. You have to say it's Rabbi Meir. Who says Rabbi Meir says? Right? Then Aliyah is not included in the house. According to the Rabbanan, Aliyah is part of that. You can just show him the Aliyah. Show him the attic. I feel the Tamer Rabbanan. You even say this teaching according to the Rabbanan. My Aliyah, Mula Shabbat. Aliyah doesn't mean attic in this statement. It means the best of the house. It's actually not decreasing the value, it's increasing the value. It's bias the specific house among my houses. I have a huge real estate portfolio. I'm selling you the best one, the best house that I own, the most expensive one, the mansion you got for $500,000. It's your lucky day. That's the way the Rabbanan would understand that statement. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion. We're going to discuss exactly the machlokas or man their and seemingly most people when they sell you a house, the attic is included. That's what people mean. So what is the Shita Rameir based on? We'll explain a little different, a little more in depth than Ian with Ben Sion. Again, the separate share after this one, Ein Mani and share on every daf in the daf Yomi. You're not going to find it anywhere else. The Mishnah, I know they're minamita. Take another from a bed. You don't want to sleep in your bed. Motor b'dargish. You can sleep in the dargish. Now, what a dargish is, the Gemara will discuss what a dargish is. Divrei Meir. A Meir says you could. A chamarum dargish v'chalmita. Dargish is included in a bed. I know them in a dargish. Motor b'mita. If you take another from a dargish, you're motor in a mita. My dargish. The Gemara, what is a dargish? Amarula. Ersa de Gada. A bed of Gada. Now, Gada, most Mepharshim translate God, the name of God, God in English. It refers to a bed that you set aside for a ministering angel. That a lucky bed. You have a bed for yourself and a bed for your angel. My kids go to sleep, I read them Corduroy. It's a book about a bear that was wearing green overalls and it lost one of its buttons. It went searching for the button, couldn't find it. Eventually, a girl named Lisa came, and she bought him from the money she had in her piggy bank. She brought him home. Corduroy blinked. I know the book so well. I read it almost every night to my kids. Alongside a girl-sized bed, it was a little bed, just the right size for him. There was a bed for Corduroy. Corduroy had a bed, and apparently Corduroy could talk, and he had feelings, and he was happy to have a new friend. This cute green bear, black. Oh, he's a brown bear with the green overalls. So you have a bed alongside your bed for a ministering angel. Maybe it means for a doll. I don't know. I'm there about the ula. I want to say the ula. Hadistan kishem memvarnos. So kol ha'am mesubin al aretz. This is a brisa when it comes to a king. A king becomes an avel. He loses one of his Zion krovim, so he has special treatment as opposed to a regular avel. So when they have the sudas havara after he comes back from burying the mace, they have a special meal in the street for him. They all sit on the ground. Who may sit on the dargish? He's a king. He can't sit on the floor. He sits on the dargish. So if dargish really means a special bed that he never uses, it's just set aside for this angel. He doesn't sit on it the whole year, and now why is he sitting on it now? Maybe he's sitting on something else, a stool or something like that, or one of those Mizaskim lounge chairs that they. Ravina says, "Midi the havi abasar v'yayin." It's like meat and wine. A king, right? He could be a vegan. He could not. He could be a teetotaler. He's not going to drink wine or eat meat, but he could if he wants to. He could. That day, we force him basically to eat meat. Ella hakash. What's a kash? The sanya and ula. The sanya dargish la yakofeu. Ella zogfo. When it comes to a person who's an avel, one of the things that the Gemara Mod Katan says he has to do, he has to overturn his beds. I don't know if most people follow this halacha. You have to actually take off the mattress of your bed and put it on the floor. Dargish, you don't have to take off the mattress. El Zokfo, you keep it on. V'amr ersa the God. If you'll say it's just, I would say if you go to hotels, they have this. It's called a bench bed, or bed bench actually, a bed bench. It's in front of the bed at the foot of the bed. There's a bench there. This is very common in hotels. If you read Google, they say it's actually helps you if you want to sit down and tie your shoes, or you want more space in the room for other people to sit down. I also give a share in living marriage, marital intimacy, and I think that factors into why they have it, specifically in hotels. But some people actually have it in their houses. That's what I think Ula's pshat at Dargish is. So that lo yakofeo el zokfo, he leaves that up because really there is no mattress over there. It's basically the padding over there. The bench is obviously not a wooden bench. It's cushion. The cushion is attached, so you can't take the cushion off. You're right. Said the God who Atanya koves mitat the lomi tasa bavado kofa. I'll call me the sheish mitat kabayis kofa. Right. How could we say this? The Brisa says that not only take all the mattresses on your bed that you sleep on, but all the mattresses in all the beds in your house, even other people in your family are not an availus, right? Well, kofas. How could the darkish not be kofa, right? You can't take off the cushion. At least maybe you should turn it over. So there's halakasha. That's not a question. Midi dehava amita hamyuchedet lekalim. Right? It's similar to a bed where you just have an extra bed and you put things. You have an extra bed. You have a high riser in a specific room and a guest room, and you put stuff on it. You need room, storage rooms. So you put stuff on there. The sanya imhaisa hamyuched misa hamyuchedes lekalim. If it was specifically used to just store things on, you don't have to turn it over. Similarly, a bench bed, bed bench, getting confused, a bed bench, right? It's just to sit down on, to tie your shoes. You don't have to turn it over. Eli kasha haka. It's not really a bed. Eli kasha haka. What's the question? Well, the real question. The Omer Dargish Mater Karvitov. He argues on the Tanakama. He says, as opposed to the Tanakama, who says you don't have to turn over the Dargish, right? How could it be that you untie the ropes? There's no ropes over here. It doesn't have ropes. I asked this rabbi who happened to be among the marketplace where they sold leather goods. My dargish said the sala. It's a bed made of leather, or more commonly known as a hammock. If you know what a hammock is, hammocks not always made out of leather. They could be made out of leather, made out of ropes. Could cover it with leather. That's what I think it is. Said the sala. Itmar statement. Ezehu mita, ezehu dargish. What's considered a mita? Dargish. I'm a Rabbi Yirmiyah. Mita. What's the difference between it? Mita misagenos al gaba. Dargish misagenos al mikufa. And mita, right? Also, when you have a bed. Now, in order to hold up the mattress, there's different things underneath the bed. You normally, the mattress is supported on the bottom by a bed frame, right? Which is oftentimes a wooden box, or it's made out of coils or things like that. There's different things that you have a bed frame on the bottom. So sometimes I guess you could use ropes technically. If it's a cheaper type of bed, you could use ropes to support the mattress. So, woven into the bed frame. Mita misaginos al gaba. Mita, you do it on top. But dargish misaginos al migufa. Right? When you have the bed frame, so you put the ropes on the top of the bed and then you put the mattress on. However, the hammock, right? Misaginos al migufa. It's not, right? It's not really underneath the lever. It's just really attached to the trees. So it's it's not underneath the trees. It's attached to the trees that it's hanging from. Some hammocks are not attached to a tree; they're attached to a post or something like that. Macy Bailey, where is something question? When is a wooden vessel makabel tuma? Amita varisa meshia shufum ba'oradag. The bed and the arisa, right? Arisa is a crib. When do they become roy lakabel tuma? When they become a kli? When you smear fish oil on the outside, it gives it a glossy finish. That's this Gmar Malacha. Al Gaba, right? If you put the ropes on top of the bed frame and around the bed frame, right, to fasten it, Lamali Shipas Oradag, you can't see the gloss. Ella Havaha Migufa, and really both of them have the ropes inside. Mita Aule Bafuki Bizni. Mita, you have, if you're going to use ropes to support the mattress, so you have hooks over there. The ropes of a hammock, those go actually into the wood or into the tree. Amar Yaakov Baracha, Amar Rabbi Mita Shenekla, tied around the tree. Amar Baracha Bar Yaakov, Amar Rabbi Mita Shenaklitea Yotzin Zokva Vidayo. A mita, this is basically a canopy bed. You don't have to overturn it during Avelis. Amar Rabbi Yaakov Baridi, Amar Rabbi Shimon Levi, Halacha Karashim Lil, when it comes to a dargish, right? A dargish is machlokas. According to Tanakama, you leave it. According to Shimon Lil, you have to untie it and let it fall down from the tree or from the wooden post. We pass on Shimon Lil, you have to actually let it fall down. So if you have a dargish If you're in Avel and you have a hammock in your backyard, you have to untie it during Avelis. The Mishnah says, "No, there min ha'ir." Someone take a neder from going into a specific city. He doesn't want to go into Amsterdam because it's a red light district over there, so he's not going to go into Amsterdam. Mutar likanis a tchuma shalir. He can go into the tchum 2,000 amos around the city. But also likanis liibura. Ibura is the pregnancy of the city, which is basically 70 and 2/3 amos outside the city limits. And then after that, you count another 2,000 amos for the tchum. Aval noder min habayis. If you neder not to go into someone's house or your house, asr min ha'agaf ulifnim. You're usher to go. You're allowed to go underneath the threshold up until where the door is. Right, the door is in the middle of the threshold. So you can't go from where the door is inside, but you could go under the threshold until the door. The Gemara discusses. How do you know these 70 and 2/3 amos outside the city is part of the city? It says when Yeshua was about to enter Yericho, my be Yericho. What do you mean he's in Yericho? He didn't be Yericho Mamish. He actually was in Yericho at that point. They laid a siege on Yericho, right? There was no one going in or out. So it was closed the doors. He must have been very close to it, just outside the actual walls of the city, within 7,200 amos. Maybe he actually was outside. He was just within 2,000 amos. It says by the tchum, this is a different pasuk from Midbar. When you measure the tchum, you measure from outside the city. So the tchum you see is considered outside the city. I don't know about However, from the door, where the door is, even under the threshold, right? You're not also, you can go there. Mesiv Rav Mari. Mari asked the following question. That's not Kohen Abayis. When the Kohen goes into a house which is Saras, and he wants to declare it whether it has Saras or not, Yakol Yelech, the base of Yasker. Maybe he has a remote control. He goes to his house down the block, takes the remote control and closes the guy's door. He's supposed to close the door. He declares the Tame and closes the door. Maybe you can do that. Talmud El Pesach Abayis. He has to be next to the Pesach of the house he's declaring that has Saras. El Pesach Abayis. You might think he actually should be directly underneath the threshold, underneath the lintel, the Yaskir, and he closes it there. Talmud Lomar Min Abayis. He has to be outside the house. Achiyates Min Abayis. Kulo. He has to be outside the entire framework of the house. Hakes. Only Besada Mash, we said outside the threshold. The Yaskir. The Brisa continues. How do you know that if B'di'evet he went to his house and he closed the door with the remote control, or he didn't actually go out from the threshold, he just closed the door and declared it Tamish. B'di'evet that works. The extra apostle bias, it works even in his B'di'evet situations, as long as he closed the door and declared it Tamish. So you see what from this Brisa? Right? Where is he standing? He has to leave. Chutz l'bayis is considered outside the threshold. B'di'evet is okay, but really you're not supposed to be underneath the threshold, outside the door frame. So here, from our Mishnah, it sounds like outside the door, even though you're under the threshold, you're considered out of the bias. So the Gemara says, "Shining out bias, chsiv min bias." It says by the Tzaras, it says min by extra word min bias. Adjacent min bias, cool. You have to entirely leave the house, an extra reboot. So really, technically, you're outside the house once you close the door, even though you're under the threshold. However, to become completely out of the house, which is not in part of the halacha nedarim, then it's only halacha by tzaras, then you have to actually leave the threshold of the house completely. Hope you enjoyed today's share. Stay tuned for Ian Ben Sion coming up next.